So now that your chickens are finally booked, now that you've booked your chickens, there are some steps you need to take before the arrival of your chickens, your chicks, and there are also some steps you need to take after your chicks have arrived. So the first one is you have to fumigate your pen, your brooding space, disinfect your equipment, your feeders, your drinkers, your drum, your bowls, any equipment you know you would be using during your chicken production. You need to disinfect them against insects, termites, anything, any bacteria that may be found in your pen you do not know of. Even if it is a new farm, you need to disinfect, fumigate every single thing before your chicks arrive. After fumigating, you then allow the place to dry up, your equipment to dry them under the sun. At least the sun will help in disinfecting furthermore. You would dry in the sun and allow your pen to be dry. It is either you use sawdust or you use newspaper for me as a bedding material, but for me then I used both at that stage. I poured sawdust on the floor, little sawdust, just because I do not want the chicks to have direct contact with the floor, except you use a very thick newspaper. I poured sawdust on the floor and then still went ahead to spread some newspaper on top because I didn't want them to have contact with the floor directly, and I also didn't want them to have contact with the sawdust directly because they are chicks. They would not be able to differentiate between sawdust and feed. They would eat or they will feed on those sawdust, which is not what they should be feeding on at that stage, because having sawdust directly on the floor at that age would definitely be some sharp objects in those sawdust that you may not see, that would maybe cause wound for your chicks, and you wouldn't want that. Two, could also cause CRD for your chicks, that is chronic respiratory disease, because of the dust that comes out from your sawdust. It is actually sawdust, so the dust that comes out from your saw, you guess. So you need to avoid all of those things because you want to have a good foundation or a good beginning for your chicks. They say the foundation of everything matters. If you start on a bad note, then you should expect your result to be a bad result. But if you start on a good note, the possibility of having a bad note becomes slim. After you must have done all of that, make sure the pen is to a good extent completely light up your brooding space, because you cannot just bring day old chicks and put them in a big space. You need a brooding space, like I said in my previous poultry video. You need a brooding space for them, and you make sure the brooding space is actually light up with a good and shining light. Do not use dim light for them because they are young and they need to see road, they need to see clearly with their eyes, so that they will be able to feed well and also drink well. The next step you need to take is pour in your feed. It's not advisable you order or you book for feed as the same day as booking for your chicks. You cannot be bringing in your chicks while bringing in your feed. The feed has to be in your pen before the chicks arrive. Like, you need to prepare their feed and water for them before they arrive, so that immediately they come in, the first thing they take is water. The first thing they take is water, and no be saying about that time you go they try to pour water or try to pour in feed or something like that. So the first thing they need to take is definitely water and food. So you make sure you put in feed for them in their trays. In their water, it is either you add in vitamins or you add in glucose. Then I was using the two, anyone that I find that is accessible at that point is what I used then. Glucose is a cheaper, way more cheaper compared to vitamins, but I think glucose is something you just use once. Like, it comes in a small quantity, so you just use it once most of the times, while for vitamins you can use it over and over and over again. Like, it comes in, they mostly come in big packs or in larger quantities that you can use over again. And the reason why you are using vitamins in their water, vitamins or glucose in their water, is because of stress. They must have gone through stress during their journey, because most of the chicks you see, except you're from the western part of Nigeria, most we in the north here, we get our chicks from mostly Ibadan. So they are being transported from Ibadan down to Kaduna. They have spent hours in the car, moving from one place to another, going through the gallops, being in, you get, so they must have gone through stress, and glucose or vitamins reduces stress in chicks. Your next step is to apply a source of heat in your brooding pen. It could be charcoal, it could be stove, it could be gas if you can afford, and it could be lantern. Just depends on the one you can access and the one that you think will give you will yield the best result. For me, then I was shuffling between charcoal and stove, because then kerosene was way cheaper and charcoal is or what has been cheaper compared to others. But charcoal, like I said, charcoal gave me a really bad experience that I would still share on this my channel. Just keep an eye on it on the video. It gave me a really bad time that I cannot even, I don't even want to think about it again. I don't want to experience it again. I don't want it to happen again. So I stopped using charcoal. If you know there are bulbs you can actually use with very high watts, then you can go for them, and you know they will produce the energy you want, that is the heat you want, then it is okay for you to do that. And be sure to monitor the heat, please. You can use a thermometer to check for the heat, or just use your skin. You know what is good, you know when something is becoming too hot, and you know when something is averagely hot. Just use your temperature and decide on what you know will be good for the chick. The next one is, as soon as they arrive, take them from their cartons, because they come in carton. Mostly the carton they come with, like the carton you have been given with, if it is you that brought your carton, like an Indomie carton there, because it is not up to 50. The minimum they give you carton with is 50. If you're buying below 50, then you have to bring your own carton. Here in Kaduna, I don't know for other states, if you're buying below 50, you have to bring your own carton, and definitely you would not take a dirty carton. So if you're coming, assuming you're coming with their own carton, you know they must have pulled on the carton. The carton must have gone through different hands during the process, or during all those processes. It must definitely have gone through different hands, which of course bacteria would definitely be in those cartons. This was one of my project activity I did then in my school. We went to different depot, or we went to different hatchery, not hatchery per se, but we went to different branches of where chicks are being brought, and we took swabs of their boxes, like their cartons, the buses which they are being transported in, the handlers, the environment generally. We took some samples and found, I think in our analysis we found out that most of the bacteria's chickens have a salmonella, is salmonella, and it is mostly from, is it from the cartons or from the handlers? I can't really tell, but I think it was from the handlers. So that is to say, your hands are not clean, your hands are full of bacteria, and you would definitely infect your chicks, because they are small, they are young, and their immunity is still very fragile. Their immunity is not as strong as that of a big chicken. So the next thing you need to do as soon as you bring your chicks in is pour them into the brooding space and throw away the carton. I have seen people do that mistake a lot of times, not just once. They've done that kind of mistake a lot of time, and it is not hygienic, it is not appropriate. The first thing you do as soon as they get to the farm is take away the carton. Take it far away from the farm, burn it if possible. Do not use it as a bedding in your farm. Do not use it as a bedding in your farm. I am saying this for the third time. Do not use it as a burden in your farm. I have seen cases where one will bring his or her chicks into the farm and then use um, the carton to as a bedding in for the chicks. It is inappropriate. Do not do that. It is not what you should be doing. So as you've done that, make sure you put an eye on your chicks. Do not leave them immediately. Make sure they are active, make sure they are drinking water, make sure they are playing around, make sure everything is fine before you step out of the farm, just to be sure that you brought them in healthy, just to be sure that you brought them in, or just be sure that you brought them in good state, so that whenever there is a problem tomorrow, or whenever an issue comes up tomorrow in your farm, you will know how to trace back to the problem. After all, I brought them in healthy, ruling that their present illness or sickness or mortality could be from the farm will be ruled out from what you are thinking. Do you get? So that when you want to now make your analysis, you want to find out the reason why your chicks are dying or the reason why your chicks are not growing, it will not, you would have you would have a narrow walk, a narrow point, or you have narrow points to work with. You would remove the fact that it could be from the farm or it could be from the hatchery, because when you brought them, they were actually healthy, they were active, so definitely it is not from the farm. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, so those are basically what you would do or you should do before and after the arrival of your chicks. Stay there for like 10, 15, 20 minutes if possible. So get a chair and just sit down there watching them and observing how they move, observing how they are active, and also observe how they get close to the heat. One thing you should know is, if you observe that your chicks are moving closer to the source of heat, then it means the heat is not okay. They need more heat. That is what it basically means. But if you see them moving away from the heat source, then it means the heat is too much. Reduce the heat. Then if you see them dispersely, like everybody there on his own, they are walking, they are laughing. I said laughing. Everybody there on his own, they are having fun, they are active separately, like dispersely, without any cluster, then you know that the heat is normal, the temperature in that brooding space is normal. Then keep that temperature like that. You get? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope with this video I've been able to teach you one or two things in poultry farming. If you enjoyed this video, of course, please like, share, drop a comment in the comment section, and see you in my next video.